Asked for that? The VADA testing? You asked for that, or was it?
It wasn't an ask, it was a demand. I was not going to participate specifically unless it was testing. From me. I told Robert that, I told Mikey that, and all along they were saying it was going to be VADA, but there's other issues in the past that, you know, guys drag their heels, and let me say that props, and I saw him today, and I told him with Earl Spence that he stepped up early on. The agreement was 10 weeks of VADA testing, which would have started January 5th. But previous to that, several days before, they were both enrolled and they were both in that pool and subjected to testing. Mikey's been tested twice, so I assume the girl's been tested a similar number of times. So I'm very happy that Earl stepped up. My understanding is previous fights, sometimes fighters drag their heels and they agree to certain things, and then day after day after day and week after week, and the next thing you know, you're supposed to have 6 weeks of testing and you end up with 3. In this case, the only other fighter that I know that's had 10 weeks of testing like this is Floyd Mayweather and his opponents. And of course, that was not the same standard as VADA. VADA is much more stringent than the USADA.
Some fighters are enrolled in year-round testing for the WBC.
Well, that is completely different because the WBC program is simply you fill out a whereabouts form, and then they can and will test you if they choose to, but there's 255 guys there, and I would say of that number, maybe 10%, 25, 30 guys have been tested. What's happening with the other 90%? They're not tested. And when they do test you, they test you one time, and they may publish that, but certainly the WBC clean boxing program is not the same as VADA testing. And in VADA, you have an agreed upon number of weeks before a fight, whatever that may be. And Nonito Donaire and Edwin Rodriguez, this is way back, were the first two that did 24/7, 365 testing. Both of those were sponsored by me. So that's really how it started with that. And of course, others, whether it's true or not, but I hear that Canelo is now enrolled in 24/7, 365 too. And props to him. So I'm very pleased with the anti-doping movement in boxing.
Victor is the...
People will be surprised at the level of punch and power and strength Mikey has at 147 over.
I do. He's got tremendous power. I hear him on the heavy bag and breathing low oxygen, and this guy's got a lot of power. His punching power is going to surprise people.
Victor, what do you tell fans of boxing that kind of, have seen the history of guys kind of bulking up in weight and just kind of getting tighter? I mean, what do you tell fans that are concerned about that for Mikey? Because obviously he is getting bigger. He's filling into his body pretty well.
I don't think that's true. They say he's getting bigger, etc. Listen, Mikey hadn't been in training before he came, so naturally he was bigger. He's actually lost 5 pounds since camp started. We don't think that he's going to be, we're not even focusing on trying to put muscle or weight on him. It's all about speed and power, and the prediction is, based on what we see at this point, he'll probably weigh in at 47 and step in the ring at 55. I know that Earl will probably be in excess of 165. So it's not about increasing his size or his muscles or anything like that. It's about explosive speed and power.
Do you think, given that Mikey wins this fight and there's no kind of like faults testing-wise, no flags, no errors, do you think that people will kind of give you more credit for coming back into boxing as a clean?
This is not about me. This is about Mikey Garcia, and as you can tell, he's a smart guy. Now that I've got to know him better since he's been in camp, he makes very good decisions. So you've got to respect him. He sees whatever he sees, and that's why he took this fight. And as they say, dare to be great. That's exactly what he's doing. So I'm being as close as I have been the last month to Mikey. He's very confident. Let me say that.
You can make maybe like a fighter like Paulie Malignaggi says, you're not on the even playing field if you're not doping at this level.
Well, in the past that may have been true, but things are changing. I've said that publicly, that now that, let me explain something. VADA does all the prohibited substances and methods of the WADA protocol, but at all times. That's the difference. With USADA, they test for certain things on fight night, but those things are not tested for during the camp. So BJ Saunders, as you know, recently with Demetrius, bam, he pops positive. Well, they argued that previous to that, he was following the UK anti-doping and the WADA code and all this, but I know the big difference. So I was, in fact, I'm the one that sponsored the testing for the fight. And if you look at BJ Saunders, all of a sudden he's weighing 180 and 30 days later he's weighing 160. How's he cutting all this weight? In my opinion, he's using stimulants. So cocaine, methamphetamine, you name it, all those other derivatives. A boxer can use those to his advantage for energy, for weight loss, etc., etc. They don't test for cocaine except in fight night. So I'm just saying, any and all of the stimulant family of drugs you can take under WADA. I mean, and the WADA code and other national bodies like UKAD or USADA here in the United States. That's not the case with VADA. They test for all substances at all times. And so we'll have to, which means certain people like Joshua, he didn't have any problem with it. Kell Brook, he didn't have any problem with it. So this is a higher standard. And so I'm very curious to see how this fight with Mikey and Earl turns out, but I've got a lot of respect for both guys.
What's your role with VADA? Do you have a role with VADA?
I don't have any role with VADA other than in the beginning I have met with USADA. I have met with the founding chairman of WADA. I have met with Margaret Goodman and Flip Hamonsky that run VADA, and given them my input on what the loopholes are and how these athletes are circumventing the testing. Other than that, and being a big fan, you know, I have provided sponsorship money for some of the boxers, probably 10, 12, 15 boxers. I have no contact or no role other than that, so I'm trying to tell them, you know, how you can catch these guys, what they're doing and how they're doing it. So I have provided that sort of general information, but no specific information about any boxer or athlete.
The boxing public might find it kind of ironic that you being convicted of performance-enhancing PEDs is now advocating for drug tests. Can you speak to that?
Well, there's been a lot of cases like that. You know, that's the people that you want, because those are the guys that know how to circumvent the testing. So as I've said loudly and clearly, I tap danced on the forehead of Travis Tygart and USADA for 4 years, and none of my people ever tested positive. I think that information is valuable to WADA and USADA and VADA. So I stepped forward and had meetings with them and met with USADA 3 times and went over 3,000 pages of documents involved in the Balco case. So, you know, listen, I've made serious mistakes, and this is a form of sponsorship and knowledge that I have is a form of restitution that I'm trying to provide to, because I understand the damage from the mistakes that I made in the past. So I can't change what I did, but I can change what happens in the future.
One might argue that you know the cheat codes and how to surpass the actual testing.
Well, those people that say that don't understand how the testing works. The entire game with Balco was changed. It used to be that there's 2 different, what's the right word, prongs for the testing. The first is with anabolic steroids and all steroids. One is it's similar in structure to testosterone, and 2, there has to be some sort of scientific research showing that it causes protein synthesis or muscle growth. Well, once Balco came about, they took away the second prong, which means that everybody's saying, oh, they're just another designer steroid, there's another undetectable one. People just, what's the next one going to be? Let me tell you, there are none. And the reason is all anabolic steroids are similar in structure to testosterone. So if you're trying to, so now what do? What's the new game now? Is everybody went back old school. They're using testosterone, they're using creams and gels and microdosing and trying to fly under the radar, but it's much more difficult now than it was pre-Balco. A lot of stuff came out, they're much smarter now, so it's more difficult to circumvent the testing.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
We gotta do it. I saved all my stuff. We gotta do a one-on-one interview.
Well, maybe sometime. I'm here with my wife now.
No, not today.
Okay.
I would love to call you.
Okay.
And get your number and call you.